While Rosalia is talented, she is a controversial. Yes, yes, Rosalia is a controversial. And in this video, I'm going to explain that. So before you comment anything that doesn't make sense, please watch the video from the beginning, the middle, and the ending to comment. Okay? Okay. And before I go any further, sorry for the music if you could hear it. I'm not going to wait to record this video, so we're going to record it right now. Rosalia was born on September 25th, 1992, and raised in Saint Esteve, Cesores, a small town in northern Barcelona, Spain. For what it looks like, Rosalia came from money. Her mother, Pilar, is a businesswoman who has been running the family company for decades. Rosalia has been musically inclined since she was a child. Her parents supported her musical talents by purchasing a guitar, studying dance and music. At age 15, she was on the show called Tu Si Que Vienes in 2008, but lost.
Rosalía, has desafinado bastante regularmente durante el tema. Ya, pues...
No puedo hacer todo, he intentado interpretar.
Ultimately, she attended the Catalina College of Music, which only accepts one student per year for the program. She graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's degree in flamenco and music production. For Rosalia to get to this point of her career is huge. This started her career professionally with music. Rosalia's discography. We are going to start off with her debut album, Los Angeles, or Los Angeles, or something like that. I know I'm butchering in Spanish, but you get the point. Or Spanglish, because Rosalia, she speaks Spanglish, but she also speaks, I know she speaks English, Spanish, and she speaks a few other languages. This is Rosalia's debut album. In this album, Rosalia is speaking mostly Spanglish, or if not, all of it is Spanglish. I'm not too sure because I'm not fluent when it comes to Spanglish. I'm not fluent in Spanish too, but I could say a few words if I wanted to in Spanish if I make an effort, which I think you guys can tell through my videos, or certain videos of mine, where I try to pronunciate names in Spanish, last names in Spanish, words in Spanish. And of course, I understand Spanish. The album also focuses on cantes. Cantes focuses on death as a central theme, which means in this album, Rosalia focuses on death, basically. That's what the terminology is, cantes, apparently. It's a part of her roots. Two singles were released. One that was Catalina and then Pata, de Pata. I hope I'm saying it right. I hope so.
Ya la memoria me trae.
Out of her 3 albums, like I previously mentioned, this is her most traditional album from her roots, which to me, it's not a bad album. Of course, I only listened to her for the first time album-wise, everything, I think almost a week ago. Yeah, it was a week ago. And this album to me is not bad. It's like her most traditional album for her roots. So it makes it not relatable because obviously our cultures are different and we're not the same at all, you know, racially. But this album, it's like I'm learning something different from her as an artist, and I feel like it makes you gravitate more because it's like something personal in a way, in a sense, because I'm not really used to that. I hope it makes sense. The second album, En Man Querin. I hope I'm saying that right. Rosalia's second album is predominantly in Spanish. En Man Querin is a flamenco pop, experimental pop, and Latin R&B album. Now this is when the conversation of cultural appropriation appears. Now, my opinion about the mixing of genres with non-Latino artists, specifically white non-Latino artists. I feel if you're not including anyone within that demographic, culturally and or racially, it's a problem because that is their culture. Yes, sure, Latinos are a variety, we all know that, but that doesn't mean we are the same culturally. You get what I'm saying? Or racially, because we different. Imagine I was to make this is a perfect example. Imagine I thought I had the right to talk about bachata and saying things that maybe is true, maybe it's not, or maybe I could add someone who knows way more than I do in the genre. But I'm just speaking on it, and I'm just saying things, and I keep saying things, and I don't make sense, and you could tell I didn't do my research, or I'm just talking to talk. That is a form of me speaking for a culture that is not mine. And is that culturally appropriation? Depending who you ask. But in my opinion, it technically is, because I'm intervening somewhere I do not belong and I do not know anything about. And even if I did knew, I'm not a Dominican. I'm Honduran descent. So I cannot speak over Dominicans when it comes to their music that is predominantly from their country. I could enjoy their music, but I cannot be like, I know more than someone who's Dominican. You get what I'm saying? So it's like the same thing with Rosalia. Even if she is collaborating with Latin artists who are Latinos, it's not their job to be the spokesperson for all of us, because it depends what appropriation she's doing, what type of appropriation she's doing with her music. And I'm not going to say this album she overly did that, because the next album, but and a few of her singles, but the point is, in this album, it was there, but it wasn't as right in your face. But this is what I do have a problem with Rosalia. In 2018, Rosalia said that she was a Latina, and she did some type of Billboard video about it.
I'm from Barcelona, and this is Growing Up Latino on Billboard. As you see, I speak English. I also speak Catalan. In Barcelona, we speak Catalan, and I speak Spanish.
Then she also appeared in like some type of article from Mexico saying that she's representing Latinos, and what? Because last thing I checked, Rosalia is a Spaniard.
I'm from Spain, and my culture is Spanish, but I've been studying flamenco and I saw that flamenco has Colombiana style, Guajira style, rumba style, and this is so connected to Latin America, you know?
And before anyone talks about history way back when words were different, and I'm doing air quotes because I'm tired of that shit. Words back then does not equivalent to today. Language evolves. A narrowing, white, non-Latino artists, celebrities in general to intervene in places where they do not belong. Because Rosalia is not the only Spaniard or non-Latino artist to come into Latino culture without helping the Latinos she's appropriating from. 9 times out of 10, while they maybe somewhat know what they're doing with their music, is not the same or better than the people who are actually a part of the culture. And I'm not trying to downplay Rosalia's talent, because she is a talented woman, but I don't appreciate her appropriating Latin American culture. We need to talk about Con Altura. I think I said that right.
Con altura. Con altura. Esto pa' que quede lo que yo hago dura. Con altura.
What part of Con Altura was Rosalia's culture exactly? Afro-Dominican journalist Jennifer Manta said. Con Altura is a reggaeton banger featuring Colombian superstar J Balvin and Spanish producer Pablo Enguacho Diaz Rexia. While Rosalia's wildly popular song draws heavily from Afro-Caribbean music traditions, the artist herself has no Latin American heritage, a fact that has sparked cries of cultural appropriation from many Latinx fans.
And when I went to Panama or when I went to Mexico, I feel like I'm at home. So yeah, I feel Latina.
Rosalia gave Mariachi Banda writing credit for the word contracha, Con Altura. And you see, okay, that was nice of Rosalia and her team for doing that. But the thing with me is that why a Spanish producer? Why not someone who's a part of Latin American culture? You already have a Colombian, J Balvin, but you do not have a producer who's a part of Latin American culture. And I bet you, if I check out who are the songwriters, best believe almost none of them, excluding J Balvin and maybe his co-writers, are Latin descent or from Latin America. I read an amazing article by Ariel. He made an amazing article talking about Dominicans who refuse to identify as Black and or Afro-Latino and or Afro-Dominican, even though you could clearly tell they Black and or mixed with Black. He did a great job talking about this. Point all Dominicans who deny their Blackness here. I was too Black for the Dominican students throughout my upbringing, yet too Latino for my Black neighbors who occupied our neighborhood with majority. Variations of this rigid diametry transcend ethnicities and can be observed ad nauseum through literature, anecdotes, documentaries, art, social media, etc. In this article, Arnell continues to talk more in depth on Dominican Republic's culture and how Dominicans tend to identify their people by color, race, hair texture, and so on. So best believe colorism and racism within Dominican Republic, it's there. And then we all know Latin America as a whole has an issue with that too, which is why in the community tab, which by the way, thank you for whoever voted, I asked the question about how some, if not most Latinos, we tend to look for white non-Latino artists as the representation for us. And then we even allow the white Latinos and or mestizo Latinos to represent us as a whole in the music industry, acting, the media in general within Latin America and the States as well. And that's a problem because people are going to assume that there are two types of Latinos, and we all know that's not true. Sorry, back to his article. I do appreciate that he calls it out because it proves it makes sense with my questions that I was asking in the community tab, and it makes perfect sense to ask these questions because we have to be realistic. As a Latino culture, we do have a problem when it comes to representation, proper representation of all of us, and we do put whiteness on a pedestal. I'm not going to say me, because I definitely do not. Even if it's not intentionally, some of us end up falling for whiteness is better or similar things related to that, and that's why people like Rosalia jump into the culture and appropriate, even if they talented. Rosalia's third album, Moti Mami. On March 18, 2022, Moti Mami was released. Out of Rosalia's 3 albums, this is the first album to debut on the Billboard 200 charts. Her first single, I believe, was with The Weeknd. It was La Fama. We have to talk about how this song is an issue. This song is heavily inspired by bachata artists from previous generations. And on top of that, Rosalia asked for Romeo Santos to give her feedback, and he gave her a playlist so where she could listen to bachata artists so where they could help her out with getting some type of inspiration and to make this bachata inspired song with The Weeknd, and of course additional songs within the album. Now, yes, The Weeknd is black or mixed with black. I'm not sure. Before anyone comes to me, I'm not sure. The point is, we're going to just go with The Weeknd is black. So, sure, The Weeknd is black, but a black Canadian, if we're going to be specific, but The Weeknd is not Latino. He's not Afro-Latino, and he's not Dominican. So it's a problem for him to be supporting this, because not only because he's black, but also he's not even a part of the Latin American culture. And then we all know Rosalia in general was not supposed to be doing this, and then especially because they didn't include any Dominican artists or songwriters or executives to be a part of this song. Everyone who has writing credit is not Dominican descent, and that's a problem. And sure, it's not The Weeknd's fault, and do not get me wrong, the song is catchy, but does it make it okay for Rosalia and The Weeknd to be making bachata music without no Dominican people working on this record? Exactly. It's like, if someone was to make some type of music within my culture and they don't input people from my culture, and that would be a problem too. Especially Afro-Hondurans who are not credited for things that we have done in Honduras that deserve to be credited for. So of course I would be offended if they would exclude us from the culture and or certain music that we have created and also allowed non-Black Hondurans to participate in. The music videos of Rosalia's are very questionable. One of them is Candy.
Ya no me acuerdo de tu cara, la forma de tu cuerpo ni aunque la pensara.
The other one is Soko or Sako, one of those two.
Ya que tus pies diferentes ya no son pela uno. Cuando los cubitos de hielo ya no se guarda hielo, se congela uno.
And I could elaborate why I have an issue with it. So with Candy, there were so many things in the music video that I had issue with.
Vestida con eje de Fendi, bailando Pamela de Candy. Así
And Soko, however you say it,
mariposa, yo me transformo, me capto de drag queen, yo me transformo, lluvia de estrella, yo me transformo.
I do want to read one more thing from this specific article because it's that good, okay? Petra Rivera Redinoon states, of course, this is not unique to the Latin music industry, but there's a pattern in Latin music where the industry promotes artists that are white, even if the musical practices that they're performing are rooted in Black communities. He continues, the people who are getting promoted to be at the higher echelons of these media industries like popular music tend to be Latinos who embody a kind of whiteness. It's a distinct whiteness from the US. It's not this idea of a pure whiteness, but it is a mestizo whiteness. Petra is correct. This is true, and I kind of touched on this earlier on in this video, and I appreciate that I'm bringing this up again. You see, I'm not the only person who's saying this. Most recently, Rosalia released a new song called Despecha. My opinion on Despecha, it sounds like a bachata song because it is a bachata song mixed with a few other genres, I believe. The song is not bad, but we all know why this song is a problem. Or maybe you do not. But in case you do not know, once again, Rosalia does not collaborate with Dominican artists or songwriters or executives. This, once again, is a project with people who are not a part of Dominican Republic, who are not born and raised there or descendant from Dominican Republic. And that's a problem. She has to use her privilege because at this point, this is a privilege for her because she's keep on doing this type of music with no repercussions. And of course, there are people calling her out, but it seems like she does not listen to the feedback. And this is why we're going to need people to genuinely talk and say what they gotta say who are a part of this industry. They have to speak out. According to a Billboard article, Rosalia was inspired by Dominican artists which includes Juan Luis Guerra, Omega, and Fefita La Grande. but you couldn't include any Dominican artists or producers or songwriters, like.
Exactly. Like you cannot, like, I don't know, stay true to yourself and be saying yes, 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 yes. I'd rather be able to just say no and lose opportunities and lose things. Yeah, I prefer that.
Concluding statements and the outro of this video. So, I made a bunch of community posts talking about questions that I had for you all to answer and, or, vote on the polls that I've left. And if you have anything to comment. And thankfully, a good chunk of you commented. By the way, thank you. And I kind of I'm going to try to incorporate certain things that you mentioned in this portion of the video, since it's the concluding statements, and maybe I could intertwine certain things that I've mentioned in the video and stuff, and then I give my feedback, I guess. I want to read from first AM. I'm going to paraphrase a few things that they said. They said that there are other countries that have taken bachata and created their own subgenre. This is true, but the question is, did they give credit to the originators? Most likely, yes, especially if they're from Latin America. Yes, of course, some Latin Americans do appropriate from different Latin cultures, but I bet you that they gave credit. I think. Do not bet that on my word, but I think they did. I think so. So I cannot compare that to Rosalia, because Rosalia definitely did not get credit. I mean, in a sense, she is, but the thing is she working with Dominican producers, Dominican songwriters, Dominican collaborations. I mean, she did with Ozuna and I think a few other people, I think. And I'm using that very loosely. I doubt it, but maybe. But that's my point. That's only a few people. The second thing at AM says, is it worth policing the boundaries of who is and isn't able to make bachata sounding music? Now, I am not Dominican. I cannot speak on an issue that affects Dominican artists, Dominican songwriters, Dominican people in the music industry as a whole, and Dominicans, of course, Dominicans in general. I cannot speak on it, but as a person who is an Afro-Latino, yes, I'm going to defend them, because I may not be a part of their culture per se, because we all know, yes, we are Latinos, but we have a different culture, like I explained earlier. So I cannot speak over them. Instead, I could defend them, which is what I'm doing right now with this video. Rosalia can participate as long as she's properly doing it. Is she compensating these artists that she's inspired by, or helping out Dominican artists who make similar music that she makes, but they don't get the same opportunities as her? Another thing, is Rosalia trying to put on other Dominican artists with her music, or just her by herself doing it, or asking someone for her team? Most likely no. You see, she can do that. At AM suggested, there is an argument for not wanting Afro-Latino sounds from becoming marginalized under the Latin music umbrella, but I've heard some amazing bachata come from so many artists. Listen, I don't listen to too much bachata, but best believe, if you put a few of Aventura, Romeo Santos, I'm gonna be dancing, even though I have no rhythm. For what I'm assuming, you're saying that you listen to artists who make bachata music, but they're not from Dominican Republic, and it's good. You see that okay, I get that, but it's like what I'm saying. I feel that if you properly give credit, it's fine. And then of course, you mentioned about the Afro Latino trying to not make us be, not you saying it, but Afro Latinos in general saying that they want it to be like a sub genre away from the Latin American bubble. That's a whole other discussion that I will have to make a video about, because we all know this gets complicated when you talk about it, because we all know there are different types of Dominicans, and I don't want to get too caught up in that within this video. But if you want me to, I'll make a video about that, okay? Another comment I want to suggest is, where highlight is Mary Soto's. Mary Soto states, I feel like Benito is out of this for many reasons. However, people don't realize how much he hurts us by using slang or cultural things that are from Dominican Republic. And this is the thing of what I'm talking about. I do not know who is Benito, but I believe you. These artists who are not a part of Dominican Republic, they have this tendency of appropriating, even if they Latinos themselves, they appropriate, because we all know Rosalia, she's not a Latina, but she's appropriating. But just like how Rosalia can appropriate from Dominicans, Benito, a Puerto Rican man, can appropriate from Dominicans too. Before I go to the outro, I want to say this. If Rosalia and her team or fans, whoever made it this far, thank you, but also please, please, please do your research, find better ways to support Dominican artists in general. Support them if you're a part of the cause, because you just taking their culture for profit does not make you look good, in my opinion. And it shows that you lack creativity, even if you're talented. Thank you so much if you made this far in this video. I appreciate you. Be sure to please like this video, comment, and when I edit this video is gonna take me a while to edit, but it's worth it because this is important, and a bunch of my subscribers wanted me to talk about this for a while, and I finally done the video. So please support it. Support the video, because the more you support, the more it travels on the algorithm, and we all know how this works. Yeah. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram or Depop. Please follow me, especially if you want to keep up with what I do outside of YouTube. Okay, mi gente? Okay, mi gente? Okay? Thank you, and peace.